All right, welcome everybody. It is RUAC Spoon Challenge number 32, show and tell. This time around, rather than carving spoons, we've been carving display racks to show off the wonderful spoons that we may have in our collection or our own spoons. And this one was kindly put together, the template that's up on riseupandcarve.com on the Spoon Challenge page. This template was put together between Julian, it's his design, and Sunny Beach. Thanks to Sunny, as always, for doing the PDF of Julian's design. So it's up there if you would like to go and get that and download it. And we have Julian here, live from Perth, Australia, to give us a brief introduction about his spoon rack. So let me spotlight you, Julian, and you can tell us a little bit about it.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my second spoon challenge.
Woo!
I'll grab my spoon rack. All right. So the thought process behind the spoon rack is that I needed a way to show my spoons vertically in a pleasing orientation that I could bring with me to my markets. So I do a lot of in-person craft markets, farmers markets, stuff like that. And I always have a small table, and I need some kind of solution so that customers can spot my spoons from a distance and be able to walk up and appreciate them. And I also needed it to be the case that they could easily take out a spoon themselves and look at it, right? So those were my design criteria for this. So it sits on a flat surface, like my table. I put it on my bench, you can see. Cleaning my bench would be a good idea, but you get the idea.
Yeah, brilliant.
And each, as you've no doubt seen on the template, each little hole is like a keyhole shape. And as you can see by me manhandling it and turning it around, it holds the spoons very well, right?
Brilliant.
Well, I lost one. So I've done some very windy markets, and this design has held up very well. If, like me, you put them in with the handles facing up, and if, like me, you design all your spoons with the exact same handle, then you're laughing.
Yep.
So that's about all I have to say about it. It is obviously, there's nothing new under the sun. Other people have made this kind of spoon rack before. I'm not claiming to be the inventor of it, but I did design one that suits my particular needs. There's a few finer points about it that may not be obvious at first glance. It's staked construction, which means that the legs are held together just in round holes in the body of the spoon rack. This is the profile of it. So as you can see, I've put a bevel on the underside so that it appears to be thinner than it is when you look at the front, which really helps to keep the focus on the spoons. And then the other thing that I've done is splay the legs in two directions so that it's very sturdy, and again, to keep the focus on the spoons rather than on the contraption that holds them. It's made from cypress. No, it's cedar actually. It's made from cedar, and the legs are just dowels from the hardware store. They're held in place with tenons, wedge tenons, and there is not actually any shoulder on these. They're just held in with friction. So if I wanted to, I could pretty much pop them out, as you can see, and disassemble it. So is it tapered then slightly? No, it's not actually. They're just straight. If I made it again, I would make it tapered, but I didn't have the tools at the time.
Gotcha.
So yeah, if you have a tapered mortise and tenon reamer and tenon cutter, this would be a great place to use that. But those are expensive and kind of hard to buy. And I just wanted to show that you can make it just with straight holes. All you got to do is glue them in, or just not mind fiddling with it from time to time. Yeah. Because on an angle, because they're splayed in all directions, that it will hold up on its own.
I'm wondering if for something as simple as this and not having to support a lot of weight, if you could even just like hand taper both the mortise and the tenon just with a sploid knife even.
Yeah, you could totally do that. I would say that would probably be too much trouble for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Compared to just using a straight hole and a straight leg, if you just get it fitted really well. That would be my suggestion. And you could always whittle the legs instead of using a predetermined diameter to the legs so that you could get that fit quite precise, or put a little shoulder on so they won't slip out. Having said that, before I give up the floor to everyone else to show us their spoon racks, has anyone got any questions? It's a remarkably simple concept. So I'm just happy to have been the impetus for you all to have a good go.
Yeah, brilliant. Anybody questions or comments for Julian? I
will stick my head out and give you my thoughts on your individual spoon racks as we go. But otherwise, if you want to put your hand up now, otherwise we'll get going.
All right. Let me remove the spotlight, go back out to the gallery view. And who would like to share their spoon rack? Who wants to go first? Raise a hand, wave a hand.
Well, I had a question about Little Bear's Julian spoon rack. Can I go back to that?
Yeah, sure, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you go over how you did those legs again? They looked like you slipped it out really easily, but then.
Yeah, okay, sure. So, to tell you the truth, these are just a, this is just a hardware store dowel, 3/4 inch dowel. It's a 19 millimeter dowel, really, that you get. And then I have put a kerf in it and put a wedge in it. Very tiny little. And this is just a straight round hole. However, because there's a wedge in this, it won't go below the surface very easily, but it will pop out. Right?
So it's just a pressure fit. So yeah, okay.
So some of these I've actually glued in place. There's no real need for it to pack it in because it's small. It's small enough anyway. So I would have no hesitation to just use glue.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
And like I said, if you've got a tapered tenon cutter and reamer, use it because it's perfect for this application.
Yeah, but even just the slight amount of spread that you get from just the small wedge in your saw kerf seems brilliant.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like you said, this does not need to support any weight. It just has to hold spoons. I've been using this one for like 2 years now. It's held up just fine. And to be honest, I put it together in the first place with very little care and no plan.
Do you find that you have to explain to your patrons how to remove the spoons delicately?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
So some people get it, other people struggle. So what tends to happen is that they'll try and pull it out or up or straight forward, or they'll figure out how to get it out, but then they can't put it back in. But I usually just interject before that becomes too frustrating for them.
Yeah.
Because I'm there. Yeah, I'm there anyway. But like 90% of people figure it out no problem, but there's always the stubborn few.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You were saying that you wanted to create something that one of your design criteria was to create something that didn't distract from the spoons.
Yes.
And I think I always found that having wood next to wood was a bit of it. So I always painted the wood either white, gray, or black. And I was wondering if you had tried any with a painted finish.
I've thought about it. I've thought about it several times. But I found that on my table display, there's always enough contrast that you can see the spoons.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
However, if I was doing this somewhere really busy or like somewhere where you couldn't really, because on the backdrop of the table, I use a dark green tablecloth because that sets off the color of the spoons.
Yeah.
And I find that that's enough contrast, and I don't. So that's why I chose a pretty plain color for it. It's just wood color, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, for example, we'll see orange later, which is very beautiful. But I specifically chose not to use some interesting, nice-looking wood for that reason.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Awesome. All right. Then let me jump back out to the gallery view and we'll see who has plucked up the courage to want to go first and share their spoon rack. Come on, wave a hand at me in the camera. Give me a wave. Who wants to go? All right, Dominic. Way to step up, Poggy. Let me spotlight you real quick. All right.
So we were just talking before a little bit about the rag. So thank you, Julian. It was very inspiring and was pushing me finally to make a rag like you said before, like many other people as well. I found, so I had two ideas, one to make one rag for the wall and one rag as a display, either for me at home or hopefully for a market in the autumn or in the summertime. So because we don't have so many markets here around for art and crafts. Yeah, so the rag, maybe you've seen it on Instagram. So I turn it around and hopefully you can see that. So it's apple. I had it left in the wood shop where I was able to do some woodworking over the last couple of years, and because I had to sort my wood pile out and to get rid of most of the stuff. I found the apple and thought, let's give it a try. It had a lot of cracks, but for a spoon rag, I thought it doesn't matter, and it had just a perfect size for it. So, and I had Julian in my mind that or your tip to use a wood which isn't how do you say, so that the spoons are still in the foreground and not in the background.
Yeah,
that the spoons are more important than the rag itself. And I thought, yeah, the apple is just good. It has some lovely grain, but it's not too much. And yeah, and I found the perfect spot in my flat under the picture. So yeah, that's it. And I wanted to make some pins by myself, but I just didn't have the time. So I used normal pins to glue boards together, and they are 6mm wide, and it didn't have to glue them in because yeah, the spoons are not heavy, and maybe I will change them from time to time. Yeah,
I was going to say, I think if you're going to put it on a wall, I think the peg style makes a lot of sense, because there's no redundant material, because it doesn't need to have a structure because it's on the wall. So yeah, I think using, and a lot of people have made them with pegs instead of slots. And I think if you're going to put it on a wall, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So
awesome. Fantastic job. It looks amazing. Love it. All right. Go next. Hey, George, I see your message. So yeah, I was just pulling up Instagram with the hashtag RUAC Spoon Challenge 32. So that if somebody wants to talk about their rack, sometimes it's easier to go off photos. So if I can find it on there, I can share my screen and show the person's rack. So George, why don't we go ahead and try that now with yours, if you would like to speak about it. Let me go and find it.
Yeah, we could do that.
How do I find your post?
Maybe you just go to my Instagram page, and then you just maybe not less of a search.
Okay, hold on.
But if you search for the picture, I can just start talking meanwhile. So what I did, a spoon rack never really appears to me like really practical to me, because I sort of have too many spoons or too different sizes of spoons, or don't know really how to don't have a place to put it somewhere. So you have maybe in a spoon rack like 10 or 20 spoons. But if you want to display like 25, 50 spoons, that's sort of my struggle. So I simply hang like a coat hanger thingy on the wall and a lot of hooks. So if you go to the next picture, there you can see, or the even more next picture. Yeah, so it's so these are these little plastic hooks, like in some kind of sliding thing where you normally hang curtains to it, and I will attach many strings to it, and so as you can see, I can just hang multiple spoons on each string, and that's the box of all the spoons I want to hang. So I do a lot of spoon swaps, and so I have just too many to show, and I want to release them out of the box and put them on the wall, but was always trying to find a good system. So right now it's just a little copper wire attached to the line, and these are, I just hang them this morning, and I was a little bit under time stress, so I will modify the hook a little bit that it holds the spoon in straight to the wall. Right now they're just flipping over a little bit, or dangling left to right, or turn upside down or something like that. But with the copper hook, it's just, I can hang whatever kind of spoon, whatever shape of spoon, wherever I want the spoon to be at the wall. So my vision is to have like the whole wall filled up with multiple spoons I swapped or gifted to me or whatever, and just want to give them like a big picture on the wall.
That's
and a little
really
bit more
cool.
multiple or more, a little bit more versatile than a normal spoon rack, which is nice, but to me it wasn't like the thing to do.
I think it's interesting, George, that you've solved a bunch of problems that I don't have.
Like always, Julian, you're always the opposite of mine.
And well, it just goes to show that each person's need and criteria is different, and so
it really is just a lesson in a design that suits your needs. Because, like I said, my spoon rack was specifically designed to show only my spoons at a market on a table. And so George is in a completely different situation where he wants to show a large variety of different spoons on his wall. So obviously my spoon rack's not going to work for that.
Yes,
thank you, George. That's I love your little wire so that you can customize the holding mechanism for each individual spoon. I think that's clever.
Yes, and I can even make like a little back hook that doesn't twist to the side. So I will figure that out. So I think it will be like quite.
I'm looking forward to seeing the entire wall populated.
Yeah, me too. And this is a plan for me. Like I have this plan for I think more than a year. And thank you for the challenge. It's like all challenges. What all challenges are. They kick your butt and they bring you to do what you always wanted to do. So thank you very much, Julian.
I think it's brilliant. You've turned it into its own art installation. I love it.
Yes. So that was my perspective. Thank you for listening.
Awesome. Great job, George. Anybody have any other questions or comments for George? Okay.
Julian, wouldn't it a good idea for you to make something similar like George for the tent? Do you have markets?
Sorry?
No, if you have a rope and you would hang on the rope the spoons under the roof of your tent.
Oh, my market. Yeah, right. I've thought about it, but it doesn't succeed in the criteria of my customers have to be able to take the spoons and look at them. Although I guess they could just turn them around and look from all sides. It is a good idea. One thing, I'm open to suggestions, and I would love to hear from anyone who has a solution for displaying bowls, because I've yet to find a good one. Because my bowls are quite large and are in a variety of sizes, and I want to be able to find a way to display them that still completes all of my criteria for the market. So if anyone has a clever idea, I would like to hear it at the end.
Yeah, the only other thought that I had with that idea, Poggy, in terms of hanging them is if you're in a situation where it becomes very windy for some reason, now you've got spoons whipping around on a cord, you know, whacking into potential patrons' faces or whatever, that might become a challenge. Or becoming dislodged and knocking them down. So I do like the sturdiness of your tabletop solution from a market display perspective.
It also works. I sometimes do markets where I don't have a gazebo. So maybe I'm indoors, maybe I'm under a cover of some kind. I don't have my tent.
Yeah, it works from just a basic tabletop perspective. So
I enjoy the portability of it. For example, like most spoon covers, I can fit all my tools in a basket. I can fit my spoon rack anywhere I go.
Yep.
Anyway, thanks, Dominic.
Yeah, very cool.
And thanks, George.
It makes me kind of think of those, Chuck. You remember those? They're kind of like wooden bead curtains that people sometimes hang in doorways.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to part them to get into the room. Yeah. It'd be cool to have one of those made out of spoons dangling in a doorway that you kind of have to part to get through to enter the room.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking like spoon wind chimes now, you know, it's like hanging them off of my porch, you know, along the front of the house.
Yeah. One thing I've never understood is how some of you guys seem to have just spoons lying around.
Well,
gatherings, I think, is the key for that. Gatherings. Yeah,
it's lots of swaps. I mean, most of the spoons that I have on my rack are not my spoons. I have a couple of mine on there, but mine are there mainly for displaying my, you know, beautifully wrought purchase spoons and or swapped spoons. You know, my treasures, so to speak. Yeah. Although that said, they are conveniently placed such that I can grab them off the wall because I do use them. They're not just for looks. So
yeah. No, I think there's nothing wrong with a good display. But personally, I have a large collection of spoons, just like everyone else. But mine all live in the kitchen in jars.
Yep. Well, and that was our problem. Like, well, I guess since I'm talking about it, I'm going to claim the privilege to go next. So I'll go ahead and spotlight myself. And so, hello. So for myself, let me go and pull up the pictures that I have. I happen to have one hanging here, but there's so much, it's such a cluttered background, you probably have a hard time seeing it. But so some of these are my RUAC Spoon, you know, treasures acquired from varieties of folks over the years. I've got you know, obviously an Oren, a Lydia Latham. I've got one from Sean Tillett, one from Sean Warburton here, one from Sunny Beach that carved me a Rise Up and Carve spoon. I've got a Dan Lawrence one down here. I've got a Matt Fang right there. And a variety of others. This is a Derek Sanderson spoon, another Dan Lawrence spoon, a Kevin spoon. So I've got a variety of spoons. And so I ended up making 2 of these. And my racks are basically just chopped, you know, split off sections of walnut that I used Julian's method of drilling out the holes and cutting the slot, which I splayed slightly just to kind of help guide the spoon in. I was concerned that mine was based off of a rack that I believe it was Derek Sanderson had made and posted, and I saw it up on Pinterest. And in his case, the hanging mechanism was actually a branch that had been bent and, you know, came through a hole in the holder device. And whoops. And so I think I'm knocking spoons off left and right. That would have made it a bit more sturdy, probably, to do it that way. But the space that I wanted to hang it in was on either side of a family picture that we have up in the kitchen. And so I wanted to do something that was hung there. And yeah, so it's walnut, it's pretty wood. So that in that sense, you know, you may be right. It may detract a little bit from the spoons themselves, but for expediency's sake, rather than having to go out and try and find branches that would be appropriate that I could thin down and bend in order to put through the holes and have it basically mortised and tenoned into these, it would make it a bit sturdier, but I decided to try hanging it just using paracord that's knotted to you know, hold the device. I was a little bit concerned that with the knots, it might be a little too tippy front to back and unstable, but when it's hanging on the wall, this rests against the wall and it actually is pretty stable. So when it's just hanging free like this, obviously it's gonna, you know, wiggle around. But I did think that if it was gonna be unstable, I was gonna do like these little carved pieces that I would actually put under there and have the knot rest against this and have this wood possibly make it, make this piece a little bit more stable front to back. But I found that I didn't need it. So that's why I did 2 of these. I've only got 1 down here, but you can see the other pictures up on Instagram. I don't need to
yeah,
pull it up.
I really like the hanging style. I think it gives a lot of lightness in between the 2 tiers. I just wanted to share that there is actually a historical precedent for those kinds of spoon racks. So I'm going to share my screen for a moment just to show you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because I have.
Yeah, let me remove the spotlight off of me. There we go.
All right. So here we go. So this is a corner of a period correct Welsh cottage. So we're looking at a 19th century styled like kitchen living room area. And if you look in the bottom right, there's a spoon with a bent branch.
Brilliant.
So they used to use this style for the cow spoon racks. So they would build them into furniture. They would make like timber framed style ones as well, like rabbeted nailed construction spoon boxes. But then they also made this more rustic style, like you've inadvertently come across.
Yeah, which is probably where Derek Sanderson got his inspiration from.
It could well be. I have some other images to share just before we go on. Here's one where the craftsperson has built the spoon rack into their dairy furniture, which I think is just wonderful. Imagine going into your kitchen and then just drilling a bunch of holes in your kitchen counter so you can put spoons in.
Nice.
What else? And I've got some, I'll skip past, these are interesting images, but not so relevant. Here's another one. This is actually a hand-drawn illustration of a Welsh cottage that also features one of that style of spoon rack with a bent sapling holding up the spoons in an old style Welsh kitchen. And here's one where they've been put into a shelf. And if you look closely, you can see the bowls as well, and they've been stacked upside down.
Yep. Yeah, I have to say, aesthetically, I like the idea of the bent branch, and I probably will eventually convert this to that. But for expediency's sake, I decided to just try hanging it with paracord, and I think it would be much more stable with the bent branch.
And I won't go on too much more about this, but this is the very traditional style of Welsh cow spoon rack that you're seeing here with the tiered style with holes for the handles, and it would be mounted on the wall in the kitchen living area. I've got a bunch of screenshots here of different styles of spoon rack that come from that time period to hold the traditional Welsh spoons, as you can see. So that very quickly is what I had to share about spoon racks that I was able to find in historical images.
Excellent. So the last thing that I'll say, for as far as my thing to go. The primary impetus for this is my wife was constantly complaining about our counters being cluttered with jars full of spoons. At this point, it was great when it was like a handful of spoons. Now it's probably dozens of spoons between cooking spoons, ladles, and all of that. And she's just like, we're overrun. You've got to get rid of some of these spoons. I'm like, hush your mouth. Get rid of, not on your life. They will become a display. So that was the reasoning for me wanting to do that. All right, back to the group. Who would like to go next? All right, let me grab Mr. Tree Wolf Reenactment Spotlight. Take it away, sir.
Hello. Can I just go back to what Julian was saying about the traditional sort of shelf box spoon racks? They've got a load of those in St Fagans Museum of Welsh Life, just outside of Cardiff, up the road from where I live. But I haven't seen those, the ones with a bent branch on the back of them before. That doesn't mean they don't exist, of course. It's just they haven't got them. But not the spoon racks. Right, my one.
Oh, nice.
Just around there.
I love it. It's a little bit like a French style hanging round one.
I panicked because all the bits straight long grain bits of wood I have were fairly boring looking. I didn't want to make a boring looking spoon rack, even though you've got a good point about how maybe it's better to have a slightly less eye grabbing one so the spoons stand out. I didn't think of that. But I found this in the corner of the one spare room in the house and went, ooh, that'll do. Drill some holes in it, done. So it's a rounded beach, which is a split, but not worried about putting a bow tie key in it because there's no weight bearing need for it. The legs just drop out. They are tapered.
Nice.
Those rounding planes. But the secret, because where I plan to do markets does get a bit windy from time to time in Cardiff. Like anywhere really. Well, just throwing spoons around the kitchen now. It's a bit of an accidental sort of design because the only end grain auger I've got is a 15/16, so all the sort of long grain auger bits I've got won't go into end grain. I've used the same sized auger bit to do all the holes. So if it's quite windy, I can take the legs out the centre, stick them on the outside.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love it. And I have to give you absolute 10 out of 10 for creativity. Unless someone else has come up with something radically different, I think that yours is the most different. What comes to mind is the it's like a stool but for spoons.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Of course, it doesn't sit level because the ash legs have shrunk since I put the spoons on the end, and one of them shrunk a bit more than the others and sticks out a bit more. So it sort of sits on the tilt, but whatever, doesn't matter.
And the only other comment I had to make was about how you haven't seen any of that more primitive style of spoon rack around, and I would suggest that is because it's a more primitive style of spoon rack. People didn't hold on to them. They weren't a value item like the Welsh box style spoon racks are, which have now become quite valuable.
Yeah, they're made of elm, aren't they, traditionally?
Yeah, you cost a pretty penny if you want an antique of those.
Yeah. Tim Bowen Antiques. He's got a few in stock, I think. He's the other side of Swansea to me, and they're not cheap.
No, they're not. But if anyone is interested in Welsh antiques, I couldn't recommend his account too highly. It's fascinating stuff and very well photographed and displayed. And he's also written a book about Welsh stick chairs, which is an interesting read.
Could you put that name in the chat?
Yes, I will do it.
Awesome. Just so that you're aware, Miles, unfortunately the camera froze right when you were starting. So when I came in, I saw you holding up your round thing and just starting to sort of talk about it, but I missed and I think on the recording we will have missed whatever the first bit of what you were saying was.
Well, I'll show it again just in case. It's a round of beach or a slice of beach with the bark still on. This has been for 3 years. So very dry, very difficult to drill the holes as well.
Yeah.
Out they are. I do have those sort of rounding planes, the Ray Isles ones, I think they are.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just quite nice, simple, sort of easy thing to do. I was a little worried about crack running from the holes here up to this split, but
yeah,
it seemed to have happened because it's, like I say, it's incredibly dry. So
yeah,
sat in houses for 3 years. So if there's any moisture in it, it's probably not a lot. But yeah, legs are cleft ash. You know, just work down with a. You could do it with a knife, like a shave horse, do it whichever way you want.
yep.
So yeah, sort of easy to create.
Brilliant. Very nice. Love it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Let me jump back out to the gallery. I saw somebody else was starting to wave their hand. It looked like John. Okay, here we go. Let me get you spotlighted real quick. All right, John, take it away, sir. You got to unmute yourself. Don't forget.
Yeah. Couldn't find it. I've got it now. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Well, I came out into the summer house because that's where the rack ended up. It's really simple. It's some sycamore that was going around the back, which you could cut down, and it took about a whole sum of about half an hour to build. And there's little holes. I don't know if you can see that because it's screwed to the wall. There's holes at the back for putting small spoons in.
Nice.
And then you can just, usual same as the other ones, set these ones there. And we go back to front. These ones just fit in so they won't fall down. But I was banned from putting it in the kitchen because there's too much stuff.
Yeah.
It's now in here with all the other bits of wood that's been banned to this house. So yeah, it was just something really quick and easy. Just linear edged, 2 bits, wood and screwed together and screwed to the wall. So it was dead simple, but effective.
How are they joined? The two pieces?
They're glued, and then there's just a couple of screws underneath, but it's glued on the edge. A glued clamp, then a couple of screws just to hold it. You can't really see it, but yeah.
It's just a butt joint then. There's no joint.
Yeah.
No, there's no joining at all. It was a whole sum of, say, about half an hour, and that was it.
Yeah, it's not like it's supporting a lot of weight, so.
No, it's probably it's actually relatively strong. I mean, I could break it, but it is quite strong. So
very nice.
It does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah, that's to the wooden house.
Yeah. It's perfect. I actually really like that. I want to come be there. That was really neat. All right. Great job, John. All right. Let me drop back out to the gallery. Patrice, I see you've anticipated me. Here we go.
All right, guys. So there is the new spoon rack I made here, and it was important for me to mix and match the other ones I had, which are there.
Nice.
And I really like the minimalist approach. And because I don't have a lot of tools, it was important that I could, reasonably get this done. So I love the cutouts, and I want to make something like that. But for now, I don't really have the tools. So I just use like a 1/4 inch piece of walnut, just like from Rockler, just like a woodworking store. And then the dowels that matched, and just used a hand drill and put some dowels in. And it came together pretty quickly, which I really appreciate. And I ended up making a couple more. So dropped a spoon.
Spoon down, spoon down.
So this might not be the best configuration because the top of the, the Vasa spoon bowl is kind of
Overweight, yeah.
heavy. But once it's on the wall, it should be fine.
Yep.
And so here's like a little one with 4 of my spoons. I had put some museum putty, but that doesn't seem to work for holding it up. So that's just a simple way to put up some spoons really quickly. And then,
I wonder if you could have angled the dowel slightly, with like a 5 or a 10 degree tilt up so that it would tend to want to cause the spoon to.
Yeah, I did that with some of them, but not this one.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
Well, that's the downside to it, is trying to get that angle consistent. Then it might look kind of odd to have some angled, some, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, and I customized each dowel space
Width of the spoon.
For that particular spoon, but then I could swap them out if they're similar styles. And then I made this one out of a scrap of wood as well.
Nice.
Hold my 2 orange teaspoons. And
yeah, I really like that one.
To find a little place for that. But I use these all the time. And so this wall is right next to my kitchen. And so for something like this, I could grab the spoons really quickly. Like I could take this Rachel spoon out and put another one of hers in while I'm using this one. So I could always have like spoons on the wall.
My multiple Rachel spoons and my multiple orange spoons. I'm teasing. I was doing the same thing with Dan Lawrence. So come on.
So yeah, for me too. I mean, I'm in California. There are earthquakes. It's kind of a simple way to just keep them on the wall and away from my cat. But if there's a big quake, they might fall off the wall. But at least there's nothing to harm them when they fall on the carpet. And yeah, that's about it. So
it might function like China and be like your early warning system, because they're so light and delicate. You'll hear them rattling before the full quake hits.
I have to say, I really enjoy how you've made multiple smaller spoon racks and staggered them. I think that looks really nice, and I think it brings a lot of visual interest to your spoon display compared to having a big solid line or having them all in symmetrical rows.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. Yeah.
Thank you, and I have space to grow up and over or wherever, but it's nice. So these are all from other makers, and then those are all mine, and these are all other makers. So it's nice to just, once I have a batch, I could put them up as I go.
Very nice.
And this is right in my entryway, so my front door is like right here. And then they'll come in and they'll know exactly what I'm up to. Spoon carving.
I always have a very fun time arranging my spoons in the rack so that there's a pleasing shape on the bottom. And I can see that some other people have also been doing that.
Very cool.
I mix them up actually, because I'm like, oh wait, I should have put this one upside down, or bowl up or handle up, and it changes it up from day to day.
All right, thanks, Patrice.
Great job. All right, let me drop back out. Who would like to go next? All right, Matthews, let me spotlight you. Remember to unmute yourself. There you go.
Myself. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Until yesterday, I didn't do anything about the spoon rack, but it was in the back of my mind. I work that way. If I don't design it first in my mind, I don't do it. And it took 3 weeks to design it. And I started working on it yesterday, and the status of it is right this one.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all from dry oak. The legs are tapered with hand plane, and I can remove it. And it's the tenon is tapered with the slide knife.
Yep.
Yeah, So I have a lot to do with this still, and there will be another like level for bigger spoons with bigger handles, like cooking spoons. Yeah, and that's it. So this is the first I can show. This is the first spoon that I made. Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The Vasa was my sixth completed spoon.
Nice.
I have to finish that I can use.
I like that.
That's me. Thank you. Thank you for
your spoons have progressed very quickly. Yeah. My sixth spoon looked nothing like I think it was probably my 100th spoon looked like my first spoon still.
Yeah, from YouTube. And I bought some spoons from Polish spoon carver to just observe how he did them. So this is the progress I learned
really
from
Excellent.
So I wanted to thank you for this challenge, because I was like for 3 weeks thinking about this spoon rack, why I need it, where I need it, how I will do it, and it was always in the back of my mind. So thank you for that.
Awesome.
I'm very interested to see it when it's finished. It looks very promising.
It will take probably a week to finish.
I like how you made a space for your first 6 spoons. I think that's cute.
Yeah, just for the display right now. And I'm using them every day, so I like them. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Well done. All right. Drop back out. Who would like to go next? All right, Greg. Let me get you spotlighted, and then Julie, I saw you too. So spotlight. Greg.
Hi. I'm Greg. I also go underneath Firefly Meadow Farms, and I've been following you guys for a little while.
Is this your first show and tell?
This is my first show and tell.
Awesome. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. I've made it similar to the design, well, sort of. I did 2 sizes of holes, a 5/8 in the front, and I went to 3/4 in the back. I do markets, and these will be for displaying at. Yeah, I'm going to have to look at how to get them in and keep them in. Made it out of cherry. It was a little cracked, and what the heck, use it because it was nice wood.
Yeah.
And I split a log, an old firewood that was a little bit spalted for the legs, and drilled the holes and dowel, or not dowel them in, but put a slice in. So that's quick and dirty. I did a little bit thinner than what was called for. I thought it was a little heavy. So I went to about 5/8, and that way it seems to work for me.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Just a note about thickness, since you brought it up. Mine is made from cedar, so it's extremely light. So if you're making one from hardwood, then you could absolutely make it much thinner.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm enjoying the templates, and I've been carving a whole bunch lately just to get some styles going. So I really appreciate, the incentive to get that done.
Awesome. Well, great job. It looks fantastic. All right, let me drop back out. All right, Julia, let me spotlight you real quick.
Hey, this is also my first RUAC challenge.
Yeah, so Julia, just so people are aware, is actually somewhat local to me here. So I met Julia at a couple local gatherings, and one that I held here at my house a few years ago. So yeah, great to have you with us, Julia.
Yeah, I mostly do wood turning, but occasional spoon carving also. So this is just for one spoon. And then I was having trouble deciding if I wanted it to like sit up or if I wanted to hang it. So right now I just have this like wedge. I just use like a little tenon thing here just to hold it. So it's not like very secure right now. So I'm still undecided about if this is gonna step or, and this is just for my kitchen. So it's okay if it falls apart on me. The backboard I got from some older like woodworker who was like getting rid of his wood stash. He told me that it was pallet wood from the Philippines and it's made of Philippine mahogany.
Wow.
So I was like, cool.
Yeah.
And then these are just like oak dowels. And I just like shaved them down a bit. Everything is just stuck in there. So nice. Just really simple. I liked the dark color.
I like the idea of a single spoon like stand. In fact, I've got like a couple large ladles that I might do something like that. So, because right now I've just got it kind of sitting on the counter and leaning up against the wall. So yeah, I like that idea a lot.
I'm also a big fan of the single spoon display, and it's making me think, since we were talking about market stalls earlier, if you've got like one very special spoon, it makes sense to have a nice single spoon display. And I enjoy you've obviously chosen a contrasting wood for yours, which makes your spoon really stand out. So I like that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very clever. Especially the angled block. That's very clever.
Thanks.
Yeah, you know, one thing I'm thinking, like if you wanted to make that something, well, not that you would need to, but you could also, rather than a dowel, there's these very tiny rare earth magnets that you can get that are pretty strong, and you just glue those into your hole on either side, and then just bump it'll hold really nice and solid. So I'm actually toying with, well, I don't want to steal your thunder. I'll talk about my other idea later. Very cool.
I did see, Chuck, when you posted the bent branch. So I was thinking about doing that. I was thinking about just using like coat hanger wire, just something like that thick, and just make like a little hanger like that. So I have like one more piece of this, and so I might do something like that with the extra.
Very nice. So. Excellent. Great job.
Thanks.
And thank you for coming. Glad to have you here with me. All right, let me drop back out to the gallery. And all right, Kaylin, I see you waving your hand, and then Sean.
Hi, Chuck. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Have you had your coffee?
No, I'm exhausted. You can probably see that in my very tired face.
Were you guys up late carving last night?
I was definitely, this was one of the late night get your homework done before the show and tell. And thank you, Patrice and John, for encouraging me to go for this, because it's been work and life has been busy and I almost didn't make it.
So just before you go, I once started, completed, and then showed off my spoon challenge during the spoon challenge.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's goals there.
Nice.
So I made two little kind of spoon racks last night. I wish I would have thought about the layout a little bit more. So this is the one that I tried to make similar to Julian's kind of idea. So it is a spoon rack, but instead of doing the keyholes all the way across, I tried to make it 2 layers, and some of them are just holes without the key. And my goodness, none of my spoons fit in them. Either they're too long and they just fall through, or the handles are too wide. So I'll have to add keyholes from the back. But then also I didn't think about the display, and I put the holes too close. So now it kind of blocks the background spoons and you can't see them well. But it is out of a very pretty piece of flame maple. So I completely ignored the don't show off the display more than the spoon. But I've even got a Julian spoon in there. So
I was going to say my spoon is looking very handsome in the middle there.
Yeah, I can attest that you've got a great thin neck to wide handle ratio that works perfectly with the keyhole design.
Yeah, it does. And the good thing about it is that you can either put the thin part or the thick part in the keyhole.
Yeah.
Because big part is also always tapered, so it will fit snugly. So
Yeah.
in case any of you are wondering, how do I get my spoons to actually fit in here? You need to have a very gentle taper on your spoon handles, and that way they'll kind of sit in there with gravity and they won't want to move around.
Well, and it's kind of fun. I realized that a lot of my spoon necks are too thick. Like I need to go thinner on my spoon necks just so that they work better for displays. And then this one's a 3-leg. So it's just 1 leg on one side and then 2 on the other, because the wood is quite a bit thinner here.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. And there's no reason it has to have 4 legs, really.
Right.
I've seen other 3-leg spoon racks where they put 2 legs on the front and 1 in the back on the middle.
Nice.
Instead of, and that like Neil, I don't think Neil's here, but Neil made his spoon rack that way before the spoon challenge came about. That's
very cool. And then when I first got on the internet looking at spoons, someone had done a really interesting thing where they took a cookie and they cut the bottom off slightly and then did 2 pegs and used it as a single spoon holder for each of their spoons. So each of their spoons that they sold got a tiny tabletop spoon rack. And I didn't have any cookies that were big enough because I have a very small bandsaw, so I can't like cut. I could have cut one with an actual saw, but I was being lazy. And so last night on Rise Up, instead of using 2 wooden pegs, I used a piece of copper wire and made an extension above it. And so it is held in there by a piece of copper wire in a little display stand.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. And I just occurred to me, it's a little bit similar to we were looking just earlier. Like, I love this idea of displaying a single spoon very prominently, and I think that looks really, really cute. I love the kind of museum display aspect to it with the wire.
Yeah, and this is one of the first kind of branches that I ever got when I started wood carving. It was plum, but as you can see, it's got like 2 knots and a very craziness, so I wasn't going to carve it. Yeah. But it's really beautiful, kind of a golden orange, lovely color. And then I just cut it wide enough to where the weight of the spoon isn't going to tip it over. So it's just like a little tabletop.
That 1 knot actually looks like a spoon, a bowl and a handle.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for everyone's show and tell, because I'm coming up with a lot of ideas for my own market stall, my own display. To have a variety of different displays rather than just.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great job, Kaylin. Thanks. I'm glad you pushed yourself to show up.
That's Patrice and John, 100%.
All right. Great job, Patrice and John. Go cheerleading team.
And thank you, Julian, as well. It's a great challenge.
Thank you. And thanks for sharing.
All right. Sean, let me get you spotlighted real quick. All right,
hey,
take it away.
Hey everyone, like Dominic and Greg, I also went into the recycled wood pile, and I also have a single display here. So here's my recycled spoon. So I just drilled in some pegs there, and it seems to work okay. There it is. So on a wall, it seems to be okay. It's got a huge crack in it. That crack was there already, but as soon as I put the pegs in, it split open. So I might as well just embrace it. And then, so that's what I made for my display. Then I also wanted to share a display that I use at some craft shows that I've done, and having them displayed up and using the space up high was a bit challenging. So I made a few of these, and these are just simple like you have, and I put a fairly good angle on there.
Yep.
And I also did a bit of a Dremel in here. I guess I could have carved too, but I put a little divot in there so they sit quite snugly. And then this is just simply a plywood with those drilled in with screws, and it's fairly secure, and I can just lean it against the wall if I'm in a situation where I can lean something and just use up the space in a stall kind of setting. So thanks for sharing all your spoon racks. They're wonderful, folks.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. I was going to say, I like how on your other spoon rack for your craft show display that you can control the backdrop behind the spoons, because a problem that I often have is that I have a lot of distracting space behind my stuff because my table is just out there in space, because I'm always doing open air markets. So having that solid having that solid contraption to show your work seems like a really practical solution.
Yeah, I think it does draw the eye for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only, again, downside that I would see to it, but I think it's a brilliant, as you were pointing out, Julian, way to control the background and show off the spoons, is as a wind catch. So you'd want to have it pretty firmly mounted, I would think, in a market situation, again, where if the wind suddenly kicks up, you don't want your thing flying away. But other than that, yeah, brilliant. Very cool. All right, let me remove the spotlight. Jump back out to the gallery. Great job. This is really, really cool, folks. I'm loving seeing all these different approaches that people have taken. All right, who would like to go next? All right, John.
Hey, everybody.
All right, love the shirt. You're rocking a shirt too.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
This is gonna go on a wall, so I put cleats, brackets on each end, so eventually this will get hung. I don't know why I was struggling with my design, Chuck, but when I saw your post, the way you laid out your walnut and your pre, it kind of clicked with me. So you can see the keyholes for each one. I kind of struggle. Like if I make it too narrow, they're hard to get in there. But if I make it too wide, they fall out.
Yep.
But in this case, I wanted people to be able to see the neck. So I thought it was good to have it wide, you know, and kind of works out. It's made out of hickory, and I put a little cherry stain on it. And I'll put a picture on Insta when I actually mount it. I have a great place for it.
Cool.
I'm hoping everybody sees that the spoons are, you know, lined up in a pleasing manner.
In terms of getting them to stick in there better, have you considered putting the handles up instead of down? Or is that just like an aesthetic choice for you that you...
I don't know why. I just picked for them to go up. I could try it, I guess.
Because for anyone who hasn't tried it, I'd suggest you do, because, well, you obviously have to make them thin enough that the handles don't fall through. But I like to be able to see, as you said, to be able to see the neck. And when the neck of the spoon is sitting in the slot, that's a detail that you don't get too prominently. But then a lot of people seem to be putting theirs some up, some down, which is interesting as well.
Yeah, so it's a pretty straightforward design. It was one of my resolutions for the year to make a spoon rack, so this worked out really good. So I appreciate putting this up, Julian. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was doing mine in terms of the up-down orientation, I guess there's a few things, right, that can go into that. And it was why I was trying to sort of pre-visualize before I actually drilled the holes and figured things out, was to try to figure out which spoons would go well together, potentially, and then which orientation, because on some of my spoons, they had writing or coal rosing in it, that I wanted it to be in an upright orientation with the handle up so that I could, you know, you could read it just by looking at it, it wouldn't be upside down. Other spoons, especially short pocket type spoons that have a large bowl, Don knows already, don't seem to want to hang well with the bowl up. They want to flop forward. So those needed to be handle up. So it's interesting to play around with it and see. And then, you know, in terms of grouping them to get a nice orientation so that you have, you know, either one up, one down, one up, one down, or, you know, a couple up, a couple down, you know, but yeah, all sorts of things to go into consideration.
So I have some plain walls in my office where I'm doing Zoom meetings with the team, and there's a spot right behind my head that's going to get another spoon rack. It's
nice.
It's a great idea.
That's right. It's a subtle marketing ploy, or not so. Yep.
I'm glad to hear I make your life difficult.
Yeah, Don. And that rose spoon, it's wonderful, but it's such a narrow handle.
I do with those spoons.
Just a comment I always use in my office, there's a big built-in book case in the wall, but it's actually full of treen. And that's my backdrop in Zoom meetings as well.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm a big fan of spoons in the background.
Yeah, I was just going to make the comment, if you've got a spoon that doesn't fit well in a spoon rack, all is not lost, because you can just, assuming you also make other things, you just display it some other way. So, like,
right.
For example, I'll go get a spoon. I've got, for example, crook spoons don't really gel well with spoon racks too well. So here is a very crooked spoon. One of mine, a very crooked spoon. And instead of trying to put this in my spoon rack where it would just look a little bit silly, I just stick it in a bowl and then it looks quite nice, right?
Nice.
I mean, you have bowls. If you don't have bowls, you can think of something else. But yeah, so some spoons just don't work in a spoon rack. And this is an example that I always bring up. But I don't display this spoon anyway because I absolutely covered the bowl in green paint. I painted it. So it's a bit of a tragedy, this one.
So
anyway.
Can I ask a question? Because I've seen super cranky spoons like that. Sorry to take us off course here for a second. How the heck do you use a spoon with that much crank in it?
The answer is, this is like the Adam Hawker special. Like he's known for this as well. Carving these silly extra cranky spoons. Obviously, I'm not actually gonna. It just doesn't. It's not
right.
It's more of an exercise in skill and talent to the exclusion of practicality.
The only thing I can think of would be using it like a cowl spoon, in the sense of do it like almost like a ladle dipper, and then you side sip it. You know.
Yeah, there would. I mean, I can put it in my mouth.
Yeah, but you run into the nose issue.
Yeah. To actually sincerely answer your question, if I was going to use the spoon for something, I would just use it as a scoop.
Okay.
It'd be totally functional as a scoop.
That makes sense.
Poached
I've always
egg.
wondered.
Get a poached egg out of a little pot of water.
Ah, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I have used them. I've got crook spoons in my kitchen, and they're perfect for putting eggs into water.
Yeah, brilliant. All right.
Or, make a good ramen spoon too, if you're going to put your chopsticks in the bowl of the spoon.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. All right, who would like to go next? Who's not had a chance to go yet? All right, Colin. Colin, and then, hold on, then Luke. Spotlight you, Colin.
So I'm going to take a little tour into our kitchen so you can, because it's already in place, this spoon rack, and you can see what's going on there. So this is attached to a unit I built myself about 15 years ago. And we've got a little rack here that holds the 8 spoons or so that are used pretty much every day in our household.
Nice.
It's got the same sort of shape as the shelf supports above. We've got this kind of point in it, so I don't know how much you can see on that. That's
okay. Yeah, I like that.
Brilliant.
The other thing I've done in the holes is the holes are not just round; they're sort of half moon shape, I suppose, which orientates the spoon then, so they're pointing in the right direction.
Yeah,
that's clever. And I guess the shape of your spoon rack is kind of like a negative OG or a reverse OG.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see one of them's out being used somewhere.
Yeah.
I've now been asked to produce one for some of these cooking spoons that just sit in here. You can see one of Kalen's here, which is just beautiful and gets used most weeks.
Nice.
But yeah, there's quite a few in there that apparently are going to go on that wall when I get my finger out and do some work on it. So there we go.
How is your, before you walk away, how is your rack mounted?
It is just screwed in from the back. So there's some space under this shelf unit here. So I've just screwed into the back. It's just got 2 screws.
Okay.
Nice.
Just 2 screws in, just one here and one there.
I love the fact that it's built in, and that is very historical, especially that you've got this kitchen partition that you've built yourself. It's very
very nice.
Very kitchen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. Great to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you as well, Chuck.
All right, Luke, let me get you spotlighted.
Could you get a picture up of my rack? Sorry.
Sure. I just got to go find it real quick. Hold on. Where's your pictures? There. That's. I know you have a few. Did you tag them all?
The most recent.
I'll just go to your account. Hold on.
Yeah, sorry.
Nope, no worries. There we go. Let's start here. Do you want me to go through your process, or do you want me just to go to your finished?
Oh, just go to the last photo, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
That I posted today.
Alrighty, let me share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, well, hello everyone. This is actually bizarrely also my first time presenting to the challenge after, you know, joining over a year ago. But yeah, so I think almost as soon as the challenge had been posted, I happened to see it, and I'd been meaning to make one, and I'd also been meaning to log on with the Rise Up and Carve crew. So it kind of was a good motivation to do both, really.
Awesome.
Anyway, I had a piece of a birch log that had been sitting in the dark for almost 2 years, and decided to split it open. And it turned out that it had a really nice shape. And kind of going with what Julian had said about the, you know, not having a lot of decoration, but I just want to kind of celebrate the shape of the wood. So I literally just stripped the bark off, flattened the inside nicely. And, you know, the challenge that I gave myself was that I wanted to create the rack from the one log. So the legs were from one half, and the other half was the top, for lack of a better descriptor. Nice. And then I took some of my spoons, and basically catalogued them by bowl size, or width, and neck width. That's how I kind of came up with my sizing in terms of the holes. And yeah, finished with some burnishing and some linseed oil. And it's kind of a bit taller, I think. Mine stands about 30 centimeters tall. So yeah.
I love that you did it all from one log, and it looks fantastic.
Cheers.
Let me jump back out. Luke has some really great in-process shots as well. If you go and follow the Dagger and Spoon on Instagram, if you go and give him a follow, he's got some really nice shots of this in progress. So great job.
Cheers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have made spoon racks in the past before this one, and I did that same thing you've done, where I've halved a log and used that because it's round on the bottom anyway. And I don't still have that one, but I think it's a really good solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think I pretty much locked it in terms of it had an interesting curve on the outside. So yeah, you know, I was able to kind of use that as a feature, I guess. And I like that. It's kind of my design philosophy overall, is trying to keep things simple and celebrate the wood.
Yeah, it looks great. I think it turned out really
good. There's another shot more from the front. Really nice. Great job.
Cheers, thank you.
Also, in case you don't know, Luke makes these really cool Viking-inspired tool rolls out of felted wool, right? Really, really cool stuff. So, all right. Stop that and remove the spotlight and go back out to my gallery view. Who has not yet had a chance to go? Who would like to go next? All right, Fangsta. Take it away. Don't forget to unmute. Yep.
Yep, there we go. Hey, everybody. I've only ever made wall-mounted racks with sort of like the slotted opening. So this was a pretty cool challenge to try to make one with legs. So I had some bone dry pieces of walnut lying around. I split off a few shakes and drilled some holes in the top, and then chopped out some sort of chopstick style pieces from the shakes. And I really wanted to see how fast I could get with this, just hobbling it together. I think I knocked it out in about 2-3 hours just playing with it. But I'm really happy with the way it came out. I'm not really sure where I'll put it. I don't really have much space in the kitchen, and I don't sell at markets or anything, but
bring it to gatherings. Use it to display treasures at gatherings.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most fun thing about it, like I've had it sitting on the table like all morning, and it's kind of fun to walk by and just kind of poke the spoons and watch them swing. Kind of reminds me of a swing set, you know, and just kind of watch them sit there and move.
What is it? The kinetic like ball things, you know, you get them knocking back and forth.
Yeah. Super low brow. I just I hewed this little plank just a little bit with the axe to straighten it out, and I cheated and I glued my legs in with tight bond, but it works.
I love it. I love the rustic aesthetic of it. I think it's fantastic.
And then seeing Kaylin show off her little wire armature. I got to show this one off. I think playing with making little wire armature for funky, super cranky spoons is a lot of fun. And just kind of displaying them around the house. This is a cranky ladle I made out of plum that I used to scoop out cherries from the jar.
Nice.
And it's just like really weird and doesn't fit anywhere, but having a little goofy wire armature makes it a lot of fun.
That is neat. I like it. I like the mixed material kind of approach too. Like I was like while people were talking, I was sitting and trying to think about like finding like a cool like stone or something to use as a base, and then drilling a hole, and then either like wire or wood or something coming up out of a rock to use to steady it. I love that sort of mixed media approach. Very cool.
That's
awesome. Fantastic. Thanks, Fang.
Thanks for the challenge. Cool.
All right. Who would like to go next? Who's not yet had a chance to go and show their racks? Or rack singular? Anybody? Wave a hand. All right, Dan. Did you do a rack, Dan? Unmute. Yep. There you
Right,
go.
yeah. Did I do a rack? I did a rack about maybe 8 years ago.
Awesome. Your amazing powers of foresight.
As I was sitting here, I realized, oh, actually, I have a box full of racks that I made about 8 years ago when I was first doing shows, but they were already crap and kind of not what I would do now. But then I thought, I don't want to be left out. I'm sat here. I'll paint one because the one that I made was just crap, so I've just painted it. So it's still actually completely wet. It will probably be terrible to see because I've got the curtain. And it's actually, yeah, you probably can't see that at all, can you?
I can see it. It's good. It's a little washed out, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
So what's the color? Is it just a flat white?
Yeah, so actually it was, it's textured.
Yeah, I see that.
See that? Yeah. So it's textured with some little handmade shaped cherry pegs.
Nice.
And this is how the wood was split out. I kind of like the shape was a little bit different. And so then I had blowtorched it completely. So I had all of the texture showed up, but actually that looked, the rack looks great, but anything on it looks crap. So
oh no.
So as I was sitting here, I was thinking, I hope there's more people going so I can paint this and maybe it'll dry just in time to put a spoon on it. But actually, I can put a spoon on it that's not that precious. So maybe you get an idea of a spoon that's on it.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And it's a wall hanging one. And actually, I think now I'm kind of inspired to actually put it up because I've got Actually, what I will, if you can hang on for 1 second, I will show something else that's in progress.
Okay. Anybody know any good jokes?
Not appropriate.
So I have these pieces of wood that I'm going to use for tool rack.
Nice.
Yeah. And this one I'm going to paint differently because I painted it a jazzy color, and maybe I'll keep it, but I kind of like that there would be different shapes on the wall.
That's very cool.
Flat. And then I liked how this one I can just display small spoons, big spoons, or I can have it, you know, whichever way I want. Actually, I'd only just remembered that I've been in my bedroom, sat there for ages, and it's not until now that I was thinking, maybe now is the time to do it.
There you go.
And they're actually handmade boomerang blanks.
Oh, all right.
So does anyone know a turn for the worst on Instagram? So he is, he's actually a record-holding boomeranger or boomerangist.
Wow.
Yeah. And I went to stay with him for a while when I was traveling, and he had a whole load of these in boxes and boxes and boxes, because he would handmade boomerangs that fly really well. Amazing. He taught me how to properly fly trick boomerangs that actually do come back really well. But anyway, yeah, so that the challenge has just spurred me on to actually do these, and I think I will just paint them maybe like maybe a black or a gray or something, just so the shape really stands out.
Yeah. Very cool.
Nice
awesome.
one. Thanks, Julian.
No worries. I really like the idea of using your crotch piece to have one row of spoons that diverges into 2 rows of spoons.
Yeah. So maybe like a big spoon can kind of be here, and then they get a bit smaller and smaller, and kind of.
Oh, I was thinking like putting the big spoons on the main section and then having 2 separate rows of smaller spoons.
Yeah, more crotches I think I'll need to saw.
Yeah. I've been thinking maybe I'm going to have to mill up some of my crotches that I've got lying around.
Very cool.
Nice.
All right. Who has not yet, anybody not yet had a chance to go that has a rack that they want to share? Oren, are you there?
I'm here, but I'm not at home, so I don't have the rack to show.
Okay. All right.
But, you can check it out on later on the Instagram.
All right. If everybody's had a chance to go, then I will share screen and we can walk through the photos that are up on Instagram. Going once, going twice. All right. I'm going to assume that we've hit everybody then. So let me get this down to the bottom. Hold on. Stand by. All right, why is that not working? Here we go. All right, now I'll drop down here and let me share my screen. All right, so there was our initial template. Thank you once again, Sunny Beach and Julian. Appreciate the work and effort that went into putting this together. So here is the initial pictures that we had from Julian of his rack that inspired this challenge.
I do actually have some progress shots of the spoon rack. So if you were to go to my page and look at my story highlight for RUAC.
I'll tell you what, I'll stop sharing. Why don't you share and go ahead and open your.
I can do that.
That way you can speak to your photos.
One moment, I will go ahead.
while he's getting set up, I'm just going to go ahead and announce once again, we do have the next RUAC Spoon Challenge 33 template posted up on riseupandcarve.com. It's Vasa Spoons Part 2. So we have 2 more templates from Vasa Spoons, and we are going to be having a session either next week or the following week. We're waiting to confirm the date with Fred Hawker, who is, I think is, I don't know the exact title, but I think he's the director of exhibits there at the Vasa Museum in Stockholm. So we will be doing another sort of discussion-based session with him, hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
All right. So if everyone's ready, I'm going to share my screen again, and then
go for it.
I'm happy to host the whole Instagram walkthrough actually, because I'm already here.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right. Now, are you seeing my story highlight now? Yeah. Yeah.
We're seeing it, but maybe it's just me, but I'm wondering if there's like I have to, I don't see your whole screen.
Okay. What are you seeing?
Like it's too big to fit on the visible window. So I'm not sure if that's on my side or your side. Is anybody else having to like drag the screen around in order to see?
I can see the whole thing on my mobile phone.
Then it's on my side, so don't worry about it. Go ahead.
All right. Well, so I'm just going to walk you through the pictures that I've got of when I originally built my spoon rack, and then we'll go and look at other people's posts. So what I did, like I said, I had a cedar board. I have a lot of tools that I think a lot of folks don't have. So that's what I used, but I jointed my board, flattened it out. And I can actually go to this post. That's what we actually want to look at. So this post is from January 17, 2021. That's when I built this spoon rack. There you go. So jointed it, flattened it. You can see I'm already using my Roman workbench in this at this time, which is just such a useful thing to have. Ripped it in half so I could get just the thickness that I need. Jointed it again, and then I used a pair of dividers and an awl to mark out my holes, which is by far the easiest way of doing it compared to measuring. Brace and bit and some auger bits to drill out all these holes. Like I said, I didn't have any tapered tenon cutters or reamers at the time. And then all you have to do is saw the kerfs and just tape the work around the holes with your sword knife and wedge in the legs. And that's really it. I made it in a single afternoon. It probably took me an hour or two. And I was aiming to have a very neat result. So it didn't have to be perfect, but I didn't want it to be eye-catching like we were discussing earlier. And then, do you want to do the hashtag, Chuck? Or
no, you're fine. If you want to walk through it, I'm fine with that.
Let's do it. Okay, so not too many for us to go through. I'm going to start from the bottom.
Yeah.
All right. There are a few here that I haven't seen yet, so I'm interested to look at those.
Yeah, you probably have to wait and drag it down one more time. It looks like you're not all the way to the bottom yet.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for it to load on my.
Yep.
Oh, no, good joke. All right, I may actually just start at the top then, and we'll work backwards in time. So
that's fine.
It's not in order. That's the problem.
Yeah, the top it starts. You have the top posts, and then the section, and then it's the time-based section. So
arbitrarily sorted. So here is George's. We've seen George's. We can see a bit more clearly how he's made the little wires to hold every spoon, and then the movable curtain rail hangers. Very clever. That's very clever. I can't wait to see the entire display for George's. All right. I may skip over ones that we've seen already and try and show us. Here is Aaron's. Do you want to talk about it, Aaron?
Well, pretty straightforward. I don't know what much to say. It is a little flashy because I used almond wood. Just had a piece laying around that I felt bad throwing. I have about a mountain of wood which I feel bad throwing away. So I'm glad I got an opportunity to,
I think it's a brilliant use of it. I love it.
Yeah.
And
so,
is the snail attached or is it sitting there?
It's attached, but it's just a little dowel and glue. So it's not. In this case, I didn't work around the snail and then carve it out while it was attached, which probably would have been the right way to do it. A bit more Lloyd to
Maybe
sweat and tears, but
a bit more Lloyd. But I enjoy the contrast in wood species between the snail and the board.
Yeah, it does bring it out a little bit. Yeah, the snail is Laquat and it's a little lighter and it's not colorful like the almond is.
No, the live edge is wonderful. It's very attractive, and I especially like the cutaway of the wood grain that you get because
I love the live edge. I think that's brilliant.
No, very, very pretty and very neatly done. Okay, thank you, Aaron. Aaron's always out here showing us up on these spoon challenges.
Yeah.
Now, here are some that we haven't seen. Jody, I don't think Jody made it today.
No, I think she had other stuff that was keeping her away today.
I've seen this one, and this one is very interesting because she's taken a piece of, oops, I'll have to get back to it. She's taken a piece of furniture from like a secondhand shop and turned it into a spoon rack, which I think is just a great example of recycling. So here, before and the after. So cut the spoon slots in it and painted it white, and I think it looks great, and certainly a lot easier than building a framed rack from scratch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then this is another interesting one that I don't think we saw today.
Yeah, I've not seen this one. That's really cool.
This one is fascinating. It's giving me kind of mid-century vibes with the thin wood in squares.
I'm getting like a Japanese feel from it.
Anyway, I absolutely love this one, and I like that the spoon support pieces go all the way through the structure, and you can see them on both sides.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah. So
I wonder if they're movable so it can be adjustable for different size spoons.
It does look that way. I would love to hear from the creator about this rack because I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll get the opportunity some other time. Who else? I did see this one is probably my favorite joke rack. So I don't know why you didn't show us this one earlier.
Oh, I love it. That's so cool.
Is Sean still here? Have you got any explanations about this?
Yeah, I'm still here. So I was making a friend an owl box just coincidentally it was the same time during the spoon rack challenge. So I had pretty much right from the beginning, I thought I'm going to decorate this owl box with spoons. These are all spoons that are, destined for the spoon gods, in all honesty. And I just can't bear to throw them away. But this friend really likes to, every time I bring this friend some spoons for the fire, like kindling, she takes all the spoon shadows and puts them aside and doesn't burn them. So this is what I did with all my recycled spoons.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Is that one spoon that's sticking out? Is that like a roost, like the dowel that goes all the way through?
Yes. Well, the hope is that the feathered friend will land on that. And if I can get a shot of that, I'll certainly share.
That's so cool. I love it.
Okay. So there's a few here that we've seen and a few that we haven't. I don't believe we've seen this one yet today. Oh, this is Andreas.
Yeah.
I love the natural, everyone who's gone and found an interesting natural piece of wood, I think is a great approach to this. And this one looks great. Left the bark on too, which is interesting.
I love how we got it to hang askew like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me that the hanging system is final on this, but
nice, very cool.
It would just be tied around in a knot.
Yeah, I like it though. Hey,
I like it too. I think it looks great. Now, have we seen? Yes, we've seen Patrice, and we've seen. No, we haven't seen this one. So this is driftwood. I love it. Yeah, this is great. Now, I wish if I would hover over someone's profile, it would tell me their name. Yeah, Nancy.
This is Nancy, yeah.
And there's a particular spoon here, which I think is just wonderful, which is this one that's carved into a shell.
Yeah, the scallop shell, yeah.
And then, well, we've got what is clearly Rachel, Oren, and, or they could be versions of. Yeah, these are great. I think the driftwood looks really nice because it's kind of washed, draw the eye.
I like it a lot.
And Sue's is not here, but this is her hilarious contribution to the Spoon Rack Challenge.
I love it. Is that like just like a 2x4?
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
She says it was made from scrap wood, so she painted it. I actually love how chunky it is with the thickness of the.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is just very cute.
Yeah, totally. It's very Sue's, without a doubt.
And I think we might have some more shots here. Yeah.
Nice.
Very, very true to the template, this one. Because mine was also made from scrap wood, actually. But I didn't paint flowers on it. And then we had a few people make spoon racks with string.
Yeah.
But we didn't see any of those today. This is... Oh, I didn't actually click on that.
I actually really kind of like that approach for a quick and like you could easily kind of resize, you know, based on the amount of string. You can it's really versatile.
Yeah.
Or cord.
Just had some issues there, but hopefully we can get back to where we were. All right, let's go back down. My poor old workshop laptop is struggling. Here we go. We'll get back to this post. There we go. So you can see just tiny little holes and string. It's very effective. I don't like how the string crosses in front of the spoons, but it is quite minimal the way that it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In some ways, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking in some ways especially for like a market display, I actually find that somewhat less distracting.
Yeah, yeah. And here's Dominic's. We've seen Dominic's. And then this one, I believe we have not seen. Oh no, these are yours. Yeah.
Yeah, that's mine. That's when they were just in. So while you're here, obviously with the one that's got more of a curve to it, I don't think this will work, but I was thinking a lot about if I were to try and mount these directly to the wall, as opposed to them being hung, how I would approach doing that. And the one thing that I wanted to avoid was any sort of, if you were going to use like a wall anchor where you could see the head of the screw for the wall anchor. So I was thinking about it, and this morning I just had this idea of you could carve almost like a wedge shape little piece with the hole that you could, screw it to the wall, and mount the wall anchor. But this would be, then you would cut in the into the edge of the piece of wood a slotted dovetail that would be a tapered dovetail that would slide down over the taper of this to affix it to the wall. And it would line up such that the shelf aligned over where the head of the screw was, so that you would not see the head of the screw.
I think that's
you could just put the screw behind where you hang the spoon inside. Understand what I mean?
Oh, I see. So you could drill right through here.
Exactly.
And oh, I see. Okay, I like that. But at the same time, I kind of like just the cleverness of having a little sliding dovetail.
But there is also one other way, and it's that if you drill a hole and screw it in, and the top thing is like 2 centimeters or something that is sticking out, and you just drill a hole from the backside in between one of its keyholes and just push it on close to the wall.
If
Did you get what I meant?
I'm having a hard time picturing it.
So just as it basically, Chuck, you're basically anchoring pegs in the wall.
Yeah.
Putting it on pegs so it looks like it's basically floating right in front of
Got it. Yeah. I like that idea too. The other idea I had was what I had sort of talked about earlier. I was going to take that sort of similar approach, but to make it a little bit more, in my mind anyway, solid, was to embed rare earth magnets into the back edge of the shelf piece, and then have a little piece of wood with a rare earth magnet that was mounted on the wall, and it would just be attached by a magnet. And then you could actually take it off if you wanted to for any reason.
But any excuse to use a magnet, definitely.
What's that?
I'm a big fan.
Any excuse to use a magnet is good.
I know. Magnets are so cool.
I'm a big fan of the idea.
The magnet would be enough, though. You have to have
that was the one thing I wasn't sure, because they would be oriented up and down, and they seem pretty solid, but when you put a block of wood on there and you have a little more leverage, I don't know.
Before we move on, my final comment is that I like the idea of using a tiny dowel, and then what you could have is a small side gap between the rack and the wall, and I think that would look very attractive. Having
that's what I was talking about, Julian. So it really just looks like it's floating right in front of the wall.
I like that too.
Yeah. So little pegs, and then you could even pull it off and put it back on again for whatever reason, and it would only leave 2 small holes in the wall.
How would you secure the peg into the wall itself?
Depends on the material.
Depends what the wall is.
Exactly.
Like sheetrock in my case. Like in a wood wall, no problem.
I would make the peg out of metal.
Yeah.
And you put an anchor in, and the back of the peg is a screw that just goes into the anchor.
Oh, that's a great idea. Or you can almost take like a screw, like what's the kind of screw where it's got a head, but it's like smooth before you get to the screw part of it. And then you can actually grind off the head, so you've only got just enough for it's the same width as the post, but you still have the screw.
That's very good. I would suggest that you use a carriage screw so that it is a bit more substantial.
Right.
Or you can use an L hook, because the L hook has it depends on the size of it, of course, but otherwise, if you just screw it in the wall and you have the L hook, so to speak, and it's out, then you just drill a small hole on the bottom, like an inch out on the board, and then you just put it on like that, and put it on like that.
This is all great. These are fantastic ideas. I think what we need to do is come up with the most complicated way to hang it, like totally Rube Goldberg it.
This is Dominic's spoon rack in progress, which we've seen. But I just wanted to say, isn't it Just a gorgeous picture of spoons.
Right, I know. Well, and that's the beauty of his rack in some ways, like you were saying, is it totally just, it sets the spoons off beautifully.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good use of space. Here is an interesting one from another Australian carver who we didn't see today, but Justin. And he's got quite deep slots in this shelf. So he's got multiple spoons in each slot. And some very nice cooks as well. But yeah, interesting. Deeper slots, more spoons.
Yeah.
So if your goal is not to display the spoons so much as have a convenient way to access them,
right,
and that's quite clever. Here is another one that we have not seen that's using this method of attaching the spoons via string.
Oh, I like that too.
Minus. Interesting little collection of stick spoons. They're very pretty.
Right, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Is that where there was a twig coming out of a main branch and the bowl was part of whatever the main branch was?
Yeah, that's right. That's how you do it.
Okay.
Or if you happen across a twig that has a 90-degree kink in it, sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's mainly the difference in width between where the bark on is for the stick and the width of the bowl. Like
you can make any kind of crook spoon from the intersection of a large branch and a small branch. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to keep the entirety of the small branch as the handle.
Gotcha. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's how I do like spatulas and ladles. You know.
Yeah. And here is Suze's other spoon-shaped rack. But I have to say I prefer Sean's being made from an actual spoon.
Yeah, the first time I've seen that I had seen it was Derek Sanderson did one where he had a spoon on side like that, and he cut the slots into the side of the spoon and then mounted it on the wall.
And here is a 3-legged spoon rack from Lawrence. As you can see, 1 in the front, 2 in the back. I think that's a
Oh, I like the cantilevering of the one end way out over the, that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting and different way to do it. All right. And then we've seen some of these. Where's the spoon rack here? I will...
Inside the birdhouse?
Let's entertain this video because I'm very confused where the spoon rack is.
Right?
Oh, here we go. Oh, this is great. It's in the tree.
I love it.
Yeah, this is great. So
that's
this
so funny.
Benoit, I believe. Yeah, Benoit. That's wonderful. I absolutely love it. That's great.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Okay, I would love to see more spoon racks built into trees. Here's a better picture of it. Yeah, that's great.
Very cool.
This is like a spoon rack on plein air.
Right?
Okay, who's this?
Mr. Chipmunk.
Mr. Chipmunk. Leo. All right, I love it. Yeah, it's diagonal. And there's like multiple sections.
Ooh.
That's different. Yeah, no, that's very different.
Cool.
It looks like a scrap piece of riser from stairs.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, brilliant. And you get a nice shelf out of it too.
And then now we're back to the original post, which is, for anyone who hasn't seen it, this is what my market display will typically look like, where I've got my table with my green tablecloth, and then I put my big spoons in front, and I try and put a variety of spoons on the spoon rack. Some of the spoons are in bowls, other bowls back together. I got my combs, I got my butter spreaders, and my chopsticks in a little shrink pot. That's generally how I set it up. And then I'll end this little Instagram segment in a minute, but has anyone got any more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to hand it back over to Chuck.
All right. Excellent. All right. Well done, everyone. And thank you to those of you who have stuck around here to the bitter end. And thank you just for all the amazingly really cool spoon rack ideas that everybody's put out there. Huge thank you to Julian, especially for hosting this last part of our Instagram walkthrough. But thank you for your template, for the inspiration. Thank you, as always, to Sunny Beach and for all he does for Rise Up and Carve, putting these templates, the PDFs together and getting them out there. And yeah, we look forward to seeing everybody for Spoon Challenge 33, more Vasa spoons. And keep an eye out for the announcement. Hopefully either next weekend or the following weekend, we will be doing another discussion, this time with Fred Hawker, Director of Exhibits there at the Vasa Museum. So we should be able to delve more deeply into some more Treenware from the Vasa. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to just stop recording now.